We're back here on Overtime on WOTM. We talked about Jacksonville State season. They're in the middle of their season chasing a championship. Meanwhile, the team that won the championship on the FBS level last year, the Alabama Crimson Tide, played a national showcase, an 8A game, a big game that a lot of people I think were looking forward to for a couple of reasons. Number one, you're trying to find out what this team will look like without the departure of so many different players. And number two, because the Tide have recruited so well, you knew there'd be talented players, but how would they gel was the question. So take a look at some of those highlights. What are some of the things that popped out to you Saturday during the 8A game?
Well, I think Bryce Young and Bo Nix were both in the same position. They were now in charge of the offenses.
Right.
Yeah, and to steal a line from Roger Daltrey, who's the lead singer of The Who, I've got it all here in my head.
Right.
Nothing else needs to be said. So can you move the team down the field knowing and being in charge of the offense? I thought Bryce Young did a good job. He completed some passes to guys, especially his tight end, Latu, that nobody really knew about. And you saw him kind of running for his life, both quarterbacks. But that's because their offensive line has a bunch of holes.
Oh, yeah. There's
There's so many guys that are not playing because of injury. They're still kind of trying to figure out how to break some of these freshmen in, like Latham and the Brockermeyer twins, into the starting lineup. But I think come fall, the offensive line is going to be set and ready. They have a bunch of beasts on that offensive line. So you won't see the kind of chaos. I was afraid, like, Nick Saban in his little pink coat there was going to get hit one of those times because he was saying, I'm kind of back here so people can see me.
Right.
I'm wearing this garish jacket. But the one thing I think that fans weren't used to on Alabama is seeing the quarterback under so much pressure. You had a lot of their linebackers. I know Ian Jackson's a freshman that I really like, an outside linebacker that's very fast, and he was in on a bunch of different tackles or would-be tackles. But again, this isn't really real football. I mean, as you saw kind of in the Auburn game with the opening kickoff, like there were times where you kind of just ran through the motions. You didn't want to really hit anybody, and you're just kind of playing to see where you were. There were going to be like no knockout hits. But then we got to see great catches like that one from Jay Hall, who showed a lot of Devontae Smith in him. They don't want to compare him to anybody. Don't want to put too much pressure on a guy that had 215 yards at halftime of the national championship game. But you have a large hole to fill there at Alabama. But the main thing you got to see, if you were an Alabama fan, is the absolute depth of talent. Okay. The thing you're worried about coming out of this game is the offensive line, which I still think is going to be a huge strength once the fall comes around, once these guys are get healthy and they learn the plays and learn the system that's worked really, really well since Tua came aboard, or really starting with Jalen Hurts. And these guys just destroy teams with the way they can score points. And I don't think you're going to see any letdown come the fall with these guys. Bryce Young shows that he can face the pressure. He's very mobile. He can get outside, do a lot of other things that maybe Mac Jones didn't have to do. Not that he couldn't do it. I thought he had pretty good feet, but he wasn't going to run for 30 yards consistently. And I thought he did a great job considering the fact that most of the time he was under pressure and that most of the time, he wasn't, you're not running like a full throttle pro type offense yet or college type offense. You're just kind of throwing the ball against the wall, seeing if it'll stick. So a lot of these things, I mean, you saw Will Reichert, who was great during the regular season.
He's a weapon, for sure.
Yeah, after Alabama had how many disastrous missing field goals all those years. And Reichert probably had his worst game, if you can call it a game, of his life. He didn't do anything right. But you were able to see just how much speed they have, how much talent they have, and there's still a lot of pieces that haven't really came and fit in yet that Alabama's got to fit in. So this is scary to me, what I saw as far as pure talent, pure speed, and guys that still haven't gotten it yet. But I guarantee you, by the time that the first game comes around in the fall, all of these guys will be on the same page, especially offensively.
Exactly. I think whenever you're dealing with leadership being kind of one of the things that you have to develop, your team is in a pretty good place, because what you're saying is that we're super talented. We can do it. And this is coming off of a national championship season where they dominated college football, playing an SEC schedule, and then they have several guys that are going to the next level. Bryce Young, the quarterback, won the Dixie Howe Memorial MVP of the 8A game award. Meanwhile, Jamarian Latham won the Dwight Stevenson Award for the most valuable lineman. of the 8A game. And some of the notable standouts that you saw include the MVP and some of these other players that we probably knew. If you keep up with recruiting, you probably know some of these names, but to see them actually play, to see them in action was a different thing, and some of the ones that you saw had a pretty solid game.
Well, I think when you add, Chris Braswell in there, okay, and you add him to Will Anderson and to Christopher Allen, who are both sophomores, and Braswell's another sophomore, and 5 tackles, 3 sacks, seemingly in on every play.
Exactly.
Just think of the pass rush they're going to have, along with Ian Jackson coming in, and then the defensive line, LeBron Red, and some of those other guys that can really hold up. And then they just signed this monster defensive tackle who they recruited since 8th grade, who's only like 6'5", 380 pounds or whatever, to really clog up the middle. So there's so much to look forward to. And I really like McKinstry, who seemed to fit right in. It was right up there, getting in guys' grill, defending very well. He's going to be a really, really huge benefit for them, impressing some of those wide receivers in the SEC, who he's going to have some really good matchups, especially LSU and some of the guys from Auburn. And I saw some of Georgia's game with JT Daniels. They look pretty good.
Right.
So I think there's going to be some great games in the SEC with some of these freshmen, or even some of these JC transfers, and some of these other underclassmen that are getting a chance to play thanks to graduation.
Exactly, and I think you hit it on there. There's so many players that they came in, that have come in young, and they are seemingly just so ready for college football in a way that we probably hadn't seen in the past. You normally would see it every now and again. Now we're seeing player after player kind of step up, and we saw that with Hall, saw that with McKinstry and a few others, and then we'll expect to see even more as the development starts coming in this summer with off-season workouts, and then summer training, fall camp opens up, and then your season gets going. Head coach Nick Saban talked about that, some of the things that he's wanted to see from his group after the 8A game going forward with his squad.
Everybody's got to create winning habits. You don't want to introduce any habits in your life that aren't going to be productive for you. Your behavior is a habit, and we want our guys to have winning habits. This is the time of the year, there's hard times in football, fall camp, off-season program, spring practice. All right, then there's times where you got to finish school. All right, you're going to work out in a little lighter pace over May, get some time to recover, rehab, get some guys healthy. And then when we come back and start summer school, then, we're sort of grinding again. So, and I think the individuals on the team make a decision of what their habits are going to be. They're going to have winning habits or losing habits, buy into what you need to do to be a team, play like we need you to play, with effort, toughness, discipline to do your job. And so I think that's the time.
Coming up next here on Overtime, we'll go to the other side of the state. The Auburn Tigers also held their 8A game. We'll talk about some takeaways from Brian Harson's new football team coming up next here on our program.